In today's world, we are constantly being bombarded with issues regarding our own health. We now know that most of the things that we thought were healthy in the past maybe aren't so healthy, and sometimes it does feel overwhelming to try to course correct all of that. One of our sponsors today, of course, is the Esoteric Academy, which is an online mystery school that my friend Paula and I have set up. For those who are new here, my job offline, I am the only female in the state of Georgia to hold an authorization from KPJAYI in Mysore, India, meaning that I've spent a lot of time in India studying traditional yoga, Ayurveda, all that kind of stuff. And long before I was ever on YouTube, and long before there was this new surgence of people wanting to do things more holistically, this was the world that I was living in. Now, for traditional yoga, a lot of the work in traditional yoga is very, very, very different from what we see in the Western world with Vinyasa flow. Surprise, surprise, Vinyasa flow is not actually yoga. So what I have done is I have taken all of my education and I have meticulously created all these different workout programs for all levels of athletic ability to help you understand the mechanics of the body from an Ayurvedic and a holistic perspective. Spiritually, mentally, emotionally, physically, I have taken this and I've fused this information into bar classes, into walking classes, into strength training classes, into beginner level stretch classes. I really want to make this information accessible to you because I personally believe in freedom and utter freedom, and I think for a person to be totally sovereign and to be totally free is that person's ability depends on that person's ability to take their own health back into their hands. We also know that sometimes for people, going to the gym or going to a yoga studio can be very overwhelming. And so with the Esoteric Academy, you're getting a master teacher, myself, along with other master teachers. We only have master teachers on the Academy where you can work on this stuff in the comfort and the privacy of your own home. Nobody is there watching you. Nobody is there judging you. And you have access to me and other teachers to help guide you on this journey. We know that weight is a thing that a lot of people struggle with, and so we have recently just created an Ayurvedic workbook for people to be able to print off and use as a template to try to figure out what their dosha is so that they can figure out what foods they should be eating, because I have found in my experience that a lot of people who think they have a weight issue really don't. They're just eating the wrong foods for their body, and that depends on your disposition, and that's your dosha. And so we have this workbook for you to print, to take, to put it on your refrigerator, to try to figure out what foods are actually going to work for you and what foods aren't. So not only are you going to be able to lose the weight, but your body is going to be performing at a higher level because you are feeding your body what it needs and what nutrients that your body actually needs in order to move forward. We now know that physical exercise not only is the foundation of spiritual health and mental health, we're also learning now how unbelievably important it is for the aging process. We know that strong legs, the stronger we can get your legs, the less likely you are to face dementia later in life. We know that after we hit the age of 40, that we start losing bone density. And so we use a lot of exercises at the Esoteric Academy to strengthen that bone density, to strengthen the core, to help the cognitive ability of the brain stay young and stay supple. Now, because we have put this online, we are able to lower the rates pretty low. I've paid like thousands of dollars for my education, and most of this stuff, if you were to do it in a shala or a studio, would be way more expensive because of limited seating. So what we've done is we have been able to lower these prices to $25 a month for the first tier, which is just the exercise videos alone, and $40 a month for the second tier, which includes all of the exercise videos as well as all of the courses that you can take. Now, on top of that, we also have a live class once a month, as well as a live tutorial class once a month. This month, July, on July 13th, at 4 p.m. Eastern Time, we are going to be having Cindy Ola on. She's a master teacher herself, and she is going to be giving a lecture over her perspective over the technique of somatic healing, which soma means body. Later on this month, we will have the live exercise class, which is actually going to be a little bit different than what we normally do. It's going to be a surprise. We also have a community board where all of our beautiful students are able to communicate with each other and support each other, and that gives the students greater access to Paula and myself and all the other teachers who participate on the academy so that we can support you as best we can from a virtual platform. Now, on top of that, with the exercises, we already have a full library full of so many different workouts, but you also get new workouts, 2 to 4 new workouts a month on top of a live class a month. Now, if you use discount code BRICE20, BRICE20, all caps at checkout, you will get 20% off the first 6 months of your tuition at the Esoteric Academy. So if you pick Tier 1 for 6 months, you'll get a discounted rate, 20% off of $25 a month. If you pick Tier 2, you will get 20% off of $40 a month for the first 6 months of your time with us. On top of that, you also get 7 days of a free trial. So if you're still not sure, but you want to just try it out, go ahead and try it out because you get 7 days for free. And after that week of trying it out, you decide it's not worth it for you, you can always cancel your membership, no problem. So if you've been looking for a way to work out, to get healthy, but you've been nervous about going to the gym or a yoga studio, then this is ideal for you. Again, the prices are so low. $25 is literally the price of one drop-in for one class in a yoga studio, and you get an entire month of a library full of exercises. So we really hope that you take advantage of this offer and join us over on the Esoteric Academy. All the information will be down in the description box below. Let's get back to the show. Coming up on Esoteric Atlanta, Substack, just to shout it out for a second to my audience, because of the nature of what I cover and the nature of what Chris and does, is it emails you. So once we put a new video up or a new article up, it will email it out to let you know. Make sure you are a Medium platform because it does help our work get out. But nonetheless, Substack will be down below. It's a great way to make sure that you are keeping up with us when you feel like you can't. I mean, George Washington on a horse and was like, "Have fun at work today, England."
I posted that too. I saw that. Yeah, I did. And you know, a lot of it was only a small amount of people in America that made that big difference, that made the country.
Who were 17 and 18 years old, who picked up arms and fought in the American Revolution. After like Heath Ledger's character, they would have been his age.
Right.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Esoteric Atlanta. I am so excited about the show today. I know I say that with every show, but this is wild, you guys. This is wild. Today, we're going to be talking about controlled opposition. We know a lot about controlled opposition. We're going to be talking about doxing, and we're going to be talking about a new Netflix documentary that's coming up, The Son of Sam, Killer tapes. But before we get into the episode, I wanted to share Criminal Justice Chris's blog. You guys, Chris is an incredible writer, and this blog is unbelievable. We know that controlled opposition. So controlled opposition is like, it's a person or a group or an organization that appear to be anti-system, anti-establishment, narrative, but they're really not. They're coming in to, like, controlled opposition comes in to handle the rebels, the people that are questioning the system, whatever that system may be. We have about 90% of the people who are in, like, the disclosure or truth world are controlled opposition. They come in acting like they're on our side, but all they really do is shuffling people over into a corner, into a, conspiracy cul-de-sac, and keeping people handled so that the system can actually swing up and take control again, if that makes sense. And this is so wild. And I know for a lot of people, especially people who are new to like conspiracy or new to like being awake, sometimes they're the people that get the most duped by controlled opposition. But this blog, and we're going to read a little bit of it, but I want you to go to Chris's blog and read it yourself. I'm going to link it below. And before we get into the episode, it's important you understand the story, because this is a wild story. I know I keep saying that, but I have no other words for it, that literally show you a glimpse into what controlled opposition or controlled infiltration looks like. So Criminal Justice Chris wrote this on January 29th of 2025. Now, there are going to be some words that I can't say, so I'll be either omitting those words or using pretend words in their place. You guys know why. The shadow in the feed, a deceptive Facebook persona possibly tied to the Son of Sam case. In the fall of 2022, Carl Denaro, a surviving victim of the infamous Son of Sam pew-pewings, and I both interacted with what appeared to be an ordinary Facebook user active in groups devoted to investigating the case. But what began as a typical social media engagement quickly spiraled into a long probe that would expose a web of deception, identity manipulation, and disturbing historical ties to one of the most notorious criminal cases in American history. This is the story of how a fake Facebook account infiltrated a niche community of researchers and survivors, exploited personal trauma, and left behind a trail that now connects to law enforcement, mental health institutions, and potentially the long and twisted legacy of the Son of Sam unalivings. The deceptive beginning. Our first interactions with the account seemed benign. The woman appeared to be friendly and inquisitive, albeit a little paranoid and quirky, sharing an interest in uncovering hidden truths about the Son of Sam case. At the time, I was actively trying to help Carl gather information related to the identity of the woman who may have pew-pewed him through conversations with David Berkowitz and my own independent research. Now, I'm going to pause right here, guys. This is where, if you're not familiar with this case, the official narrative, the system, the NYPD has put out this story that Berkowitz was the lone Son of Sam. He was it. The big kahuna, the goose that laid the golden egg. It was Berkowitz. But as many of you guys know, pretty obvious that it wasn't Berkowitz. In fact, we've been talking about The Ultimate Evil. I'm rereading it. There is you would have to be a pretty low IQ. Like pretty dumb, to think that Berkowitz was the only person. It is obvious that he wasn't. But the NYPD wants you to believe he was. And if you read The Ultimate Evil, you will see how Maury Terry was basically like blocked every time he tried to push forward with his evidence as an investigative journalist. Netflix does have a series called The Sons of Sam that goes through Maury Terry's research if you care to look at it. But why this is important, particularly with Carl Denaro's pew-pewer. Carl has been on the channel before with me. I'll share that link later. He is one of the survivors. And the reason why his particular pew-pewing is really important to the conspiracy, the story going up against the narrative, is because the ballistics have basically confirmed that whoever pew-pewed him was either a 90-pound weakling or a woman, neither of which are Berkowitz. So trying to get to the bottom of who actually was responsible, we'll say, for Carl's injuries for the YouTube is crucial in overturning the narrative in Son of Sam. Now, the reason why Son of Sam also is so infuriating is, like the Gypsy Rose case, the government's involved in this. There's no other way that this would have gotten this far, this sinister, this cover-up would have continued to continue, in my opinion, without the government being ferociously involved in covering up the truth. That's what makes this terrifying. So what Criminal Justice Chris is doing, she's working with Carl Denaro to try to get more information about the night in I believe it was 76, that he was pew-pewed, so that they can kind of connect the dots as to who was actually responsible, which not only will give Carl peace, but will also help destroy the official narrative given to us by the system. Okay. So the account engaged both of us, but curiously in starkly different ways. So this woman pops up in this Facebook group. She's like, hey, she seems a little quirky. She's messaging both Chris and Carl privately. They're trying to figure out who was responsible. It seems she might, I don't know, she has information. She's obviously trying to handle the situation. She's a handler, right? She presented herself to me as an ally, warm, sympathetic, supportive. But to Carl, she painted a much darker portrait of me, calling me a Satanist and encouraging Carl, a group administrator, to expel me from the official Maury Terry Facebook group, as well as another woman I was having conversations with related to Leslie Zarrett. Now, the Leslie Zarrett case, we have done shows over before with Criminal Justice Chris. It's amazing how many cases, like how many spinning discs there are around the Son of Sam case. I will tag that below, just so we don't have to unhash that again, but I would definitely go back and look at the Leslie Zarrett case. She also seemed to know a bit too much information, as if she was supplied it from the individuals who were communicating in private groups. This duplicity appeared to be an attempt to sow discord between Carl and myself. It didn't work. If you guys know from Chris, she's come on the show a lot. She's an incredible researcher, as well as obviously blogger. And so she's really good at digging through. She's smart. She's really good at digging through information. She's really good at studying the occult. She's not an occultist, as she said many times. She's not an occultist. But that is why I think this woman tried to convince Carl Denaro that Chris was a Satanist, because, and there's a difference. Being an occultist and being a Satanist are not mutually exclusive, right? You can be one and not be the other. And the reason why this would probably be sensitive to Carl, I'm guessing, is because the conspiracy behind the Son of Sam is that it was a satanic cult. Okay. So, and that's why, Chris has learned so much about the cult, is studying this case. So that's what she's trying to do. All right. But it didn't work. Weaponizing empathy and sympathy. She was skilled in emotional manipulation. Over weeks of private exchanges, she revealed personal tragedies that ranged from the loss of her husband to the fancy flu to the recent unaliving of a newborn child. She also claimed to have had a lung removed, that she was a former prosecuting attorney who left the profession due to unaliving threats, and that she had done legal work for the Vatican. These revelations seemed designed to evoke trust, perhaps even empathy and sympathy. She invited me to visit her in New York and sent a photo of a large estate, a home later confirmed to be the residence of Alfred Hunt Howell after running it through Google Images. Howell is historical figure tangentially linked to Son of Sam conspiracy theories and who deleted under questionable circumstances. She also sent photos of her quote-unquote children and quote-unquote deleted husband, which appear to be stock-style images that wouldn't look out of place in a 1990s Ralph Lauren catalog. These types of photos are also on her Facebook account, all of which have been recorded through snipping tools. Cracks in the facade. Curiously and uneasy, I began to investigate, and so did Carl. Using reverse image search tools, I discovered 2 of her posted images were altered stock photos. Carl realized the same problem based on his own research. One image bore a striking resemblance to a British actor in a tuxedo taking a selfie of himself. He is falsely rumored to be a descendant from Russian royalty, a claim he's publicly denied. Why would someone impersonating a grieving widow and legal expert be using celebrity stock photos and estate images tied to Son of Sam lore? Why would she use a picture that ties one son to Russian royalty? Beyond Facebook, the probe deepens. Eventually, the woman provided a phone number and an email address through messaging when she was attempting to get me to leave the official Maury Terry group and to join another online Son of Sam research group, only to delete the number shortly after. I preserved the messaging history and ran a data trace. The number came back registered to a different last name, one associated with individuals mentioned by David Berkowitz himself in connection to the case. I'm just going to say this. If you're in the disclosure community, this is common. 90% of the YouTubers that you're following and spouting out the word of God when it comes to like Nasara, if you knew who these people were, you'd be ashamed. Okay? So this is not just in the Son of Sam case. This is everywhere that these people do this. Through collaboration with other independent researchers and Carl Denaro, more digital trails surfaced. She had been donating small sums, roughly $10 per podcast, to podcasters covering the Son of Sam story, possibly to earn trust or gain access. One person even reported to receiving pea soup. An odd nod to Berkowitz's biological mother, Betty Falco, who was known for making the dish. They have to tell on themselves, don't they? And I had this happen to me. I had controlled opposition podcasters, controlled opposition truthers donating to me each month too. They do that to handle you. Through Google Drive tracking on shared Maury Terry NDA protected documents in early 2024, I discovered a second email address associated with her when documents were provided to me. After much research, one email was linked to a LinkedIn account listing employment in the mental health field, and more recently, alarmingly, work with the Sheriff's Department in New York, which if you guys have read The Ultimate Evil, you know that is alleged that John Carr and Michael Carr's sister Wheat worked for the Dispatch, I believe. And for those who don't know, Michael Carr and John Carr are no longer living. They were soon removed from this earth when people got suspicious that Berkowitz wasn't the only active member in this pew-pewing, and John and Michael Carr's father was a man named Sam, hence the Son of Sam. Both email accounts associated with her have been analyzed, and ongoing genealogy research is being conducted to determine whether she is related to individuals allegedly connected to criminal activity involving David Berkowitz. Records indicate that she is using the name of a deceased relative and has married into a family with a surname directly tied to the case. The second email, also using the deceased relative's name, traces back to a different state, one where she claimed one of her children resides. Additionally, a separate last name associated with her marital history connects to yet another individual with alleged ties to the Son of Sam case. At one point during our correspondence, she casually mentioned that she was in her late 40s, a claim that seemed consistent with the age listed on the LinkedIn profile linked to one of her email addresses. She also volunteered the names of her husband and children during our exchanges, offering just enough personal detail to seem genuine or at least to disarm suspicion. But when I ran those names through public records and obituary databases, something didn't add up. The name she gave for her husband matched that of a man who had unalived in the late 80s in upstate New York, decades older than someone who would plausibly be married to a woman in her 40s now. The name of the unalived man's wife also matched the name she claimed as her own. Even more unsettling, the names of the two children associated with that couple were identical to the ones she had mentioned in writing. All of this pointed to a disturbing possibility. She had assumed the identity of an unalived woman and was borrowing elements of a real family history to construct a more believable digital persona. The location she claimed to live in was also consistent with the area where the unalived family had resided, adding another layer of eerie credibility to the lie. Whether this was identity theft, misdirection, or something more strategic remained unclear. But what is clear is that the person behind the account was not just weaving a fictional story, she was repurposing a real one. A ghost with a P.O. box. As I continued digging, I reached out to another member of a Son of Sam Facebook group who was listed as one of her friends. When I asked what she knew about the woman, her response was vague but telling. She's had a hard life. The woman explained that she had never actually met her in person despite years of online interaction. At one point, however, she had mailed her a bag of clothing, appearing as a gesture of compassion. The package, she said, had been sent to a P.O. box in a state entirely different from New York, where the woman had claimed to live. Her friend would not provide the state for the P.O. box. She also confirmed that the woman had claimed to be a former prosecuting attorney and was sending her children through private schools, implying wealth. However, after searching bar associate records across 5 states, I was unable to find any evidence of her being licensed to practice law. These inconsistencies were not the only ones. Another individual, someone who had shared sensitive, protected Maury documents with her, had also been given an address. That location did fall within the general area the woman claimed as home, but it turned out to be an apartment unit, not the estate-style property she had once sent me a photo of. The same person had also been given a phone number by her, the same number she sent me through Facebook Messenger and then quickly deleted. Cross-referencing both the phone number and the apartment address through data mining tools, I found they aligned with one of the email addresses she had used. This confirmed that the address, phone number, and email were all part of the same identity, or at least the same fabricated version of one. But the use of the P.O. box in another state, the inconsistency in housing type, and the contradictory personal narratives only deepened the mystery. She wasn't just hiding behind a screen. She was scattering trails in multiple directions, as if daring anyone to try to piece them together. When I confronted her about her behavior in November of 2022, specifically regarding her accusations against Carl removing her friend from the Facebook group, her demeanor changed. She became aggressive and she threatened me. She also stated not to share her email with others or I'd face consequences. The threats, combined with the phone numbers and the doctored images, led me to file reports with local law enforcement and the FBI. Carl and I compiled the information we had, including all images, email, including all messages, images, email trace, and group interactions during the process. The evidence was shared with me to the authorities in 2022 and again later when further information was gathered based on the second email address. At one point, I became aware that she suspected I was closing in on her real identity. Suddenly, one of my research friends received a private Facebook message from a third party containing a question that mirrored one she had also sent him just an hour earlier. Both messages were nearly identical, paraphrased, suggesting she may have been operating or manipulating multiple accounts to redirect suspicion. When the third party was questioned, he stated she had asked him to message my research friend with a question. Cross-referencing her digital identity and discussing with others revealed a persistent interest in obscure literature like Who Made You, Theology, Science, and Human Responsibility by Alfred Hunt Howell, and in figures like Michael Aquino, founder of the Temple of Set. These references made in social media discussions, private chats, and phone conversations with others pointed to a fascination with esoteric themes that often circle Son of Sam conspiracy theories. This isn't an isolated incident. The official Maury-Terry, unofficial Maury-Terry, and the Son of Sam Real Connection Facebook groups have all experienced infiltration by individuals with questionable motives. Family members, ex-spouses, friends, friends of friends, and possibly even criminal affiliates have joined these groups under aliases, but also real names, to monitor or derail conversations. Much of this has been discovered through the investigation of social media accounts. As a result, many credible researchers have moved their investigations offline, relying on email, encrypted messaging, and private calls to continue their work. In November of 2022, I notified David Berkowitz directly about the suspicious account. He was eventually given the name associated with the user and informed the protected documents from Maury-Terry estate had been potentially distributed to individuals with known links to his past associates, aka the cult. Due to his incarceration in a maximum security facility, communication was handled via a trusted intermediary outside the Department of Corrections, because they read all their emails, right? Notably, in June of 2023, David Berkowitz publicly shifted his position. He now states that he acted alone, after years of suggesting he had acted in concert with others. This reversal is not without context. Numerous individuals who have maintained contact with Berkowitz have reported being harassed or intimidated through social media and other channels. Also, the NDA protecting Maury-Terry's investigative journalist files was violated, putting him at significant risk for retaliation. So that's been my speculation all along. Whenever he goes back on his word and says, no, 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 I was the only one, the NYPD are right, it's because he's scared. I believe David Berkowitz gets really scared that other people are going to get hurt, family members, that this cult is going to strike out in other ways. So every time he shifts his position, I do think it's because he's fearful for somebody else's life to be affected. While I have identified her name, profession, and links to multiple addresses and aliases, I'm not releasing these details publicly for now. The federal anti-doxing statute remains vague, and I believe in handling this case through appropriate legal channels, but rest assured, her full identity is known and documented. Conclusion. What started as a Facebook message spiraled into a long investigation involving fake identities, altered images, and ties to decades-old crime saga that still haunts New York's collective memory. This isn't just about social media manipulation. It's about the digital research of unresolved history and how the ghost of the past continues to influence the present, and how a violated India agreement because of the actions of Joshua Zeman and Manny Grossman of the Grossman Files has continued to affect the life of David Berkowitz and others who are close to him. This account is one of several disturbing incidents. Other incidents, again, have been documented through law enforcement. For now, I urge all researchers and survivors in the Son of Sam community and elsewhere to be cautious and to verify before trusting, because not every profile picture is what it seems. Not every person on YouTube is who they seem, or Rumble, or Telegram. I've told you guys before, a lot of the people who claim to have lost their channels because, they didn't. They took their own channels down to manipulate you into thinking that they were on your side. Got to be careful with this. You got to research everything. I believe this story serves as a stark reminder of how easily social media, a tool meant to connect, can be weaponized for manipulation, misdirection, and infiltration. In online spaces where sensitive topics like the Son of Sam case are discussed, people often assume shared interests, simply shared trust. That assumption can be dangerous, 100%. The woman behind this account constructed of a believable persona using fragments of real identities, careful, curated photographs, and emotionally charged stories. She attempted to psychologically leverage empathy, sympathy, paranoia, and even historical references to gain access to people, documents, and conversations that were never meant for outsiders. She blurred the lines between fiction and fact so effectively that even seasoned researchers and victims of the case were drawn in. Social media makes it deceptively easy for people to masquerade as whoever they want to be. Photos can be stolen, backstories borrowed, credentials fabricated. Without face-to-face contact, it becomes almost impossible to verify who someone really is, especially in niche communities where participants are often emotionally invested or looking for answers. This isn't just about one fake account. It's about a growing vulnerability in digital culture. It demonstrates the way anonymity, I have a hard time with that word, can be used not only to troll or deceive, but to quietly infiltrate and destabilize communities from within. For those involved in true crime research, advocacy, or any online subculture rooted in emotionally charged subject matter, this case is a warning. Ding, 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 ding. Trust must be earned. Trust must be verified. Take nothing at face value. Real relationships, especially in sensitive investigative spaces, are best built with caution, critical and analytical thinking, and when necessary, a healthy dose of skepticism. I could not agree more with you, Chris. I'm going to leave a comment later because this is... Yes, she's hit the nail on the head. And this is in almost every single community that this happens. These people come in as like they're on your team. Yay, we're the same. We're going to take the system down. We're going to expose the truth. But they're not doing that. They're handling you. We talk a lot about handlers here. If you're following YouTubers without researching what they're saying, myself included, you could potentially fall victim to being handled. Okay? Always, 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 always do your research. This is such an incredible article written by Chris, which we're going to talk about. We're going to get into that with Chris. We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about doxing laws. I've been doxed. I was doxed by one of the people that everyone thinks is great, but who is lying to everyone constantly. She's controlled opposition. And we're going to talk about the new Netflix series coming up, The Son of Sam Tapes, LLER tapes. There's some problems there. Netflix has been warned. They've got some people coming on that aren't reliable, that are trying to derail all of this. Again, the reason why I think this is being derailed, or they try to derail it, is because the government's involved. The government's involved. Just like Gypsy Rose. Like, it's obvious at this point that there is something, it's not just a silly little cult that got out of hand. It's connected to big, powerful people. And that cannot be exposed, even though it's kind of silly. But a narcissist is never, and I think the whole, system is narcissistic. It's never going to like reveal itself or admit or be like, you got me, guys. No, they're going to double down. And that's what's happening with the NYPD. They're doubling down. Gypsy Rose is doubling down. This is serious. And it's not just the United States. It's all the countries in the world. You need to be aware of this. Because if this can happen in one case, it can happen to a bunch of cases. And in the United States, we the people run this shit. So we should be able to demand transparency when it comes to this, and demand that the officials who've allowed this to continue, who have allowed all of the truth to continue to be blackballed and hidden, we need transparency from them. It's been too long. It's not like this is a new case that's just now being investigated and they have to keep some things under wrap because they're investigating it. No, this happened in 1976. It also connects to Charles Manson, but that's a story for a different day. You can read The Ultimate Evil if you want more information on that. So with that being said, you guys, because of the nature of this case, I tried, when you watch the full episode, you're going to see that I tried to bleep out words and say pew pew, but it just got really complicated. I mean, just because of the nature of what we're talking about. First of all, we are talking about a pretty serious conspiracy. And we know the powers that be don't like us talking about that on the YT. We also, by nature of what we're talking about, are going to be using the G word, the M word, and it just, because that's what this revolves around, we're going to have to just do this over on RUMBLE. And so if you are from France or a country that does not get RUMBLE, this episode will be up on the Esoteric Academy. Hopefully by the time you see this, it will be up. If not, give it 24 hours. Paula is traveling, but it will be up on the Esoteric Academy if you don't have access to RUMBLE. But if you do have access to RUMBLE, please go ahead and follow the link over to that platform. And in that description box, you're going to see all the other links to all the different cases that are also referenced in this particular story. So anyway, you guys, I said this in another video. Yes, I darkened my hair. I know that's silly to bring it up, but so many people, speaking of conspiracies, I just darkened it. It's got a little, I wanted to try to go a little red. I don't know. I'm seeing my hairdresser in a couple weeks, so I might lighten it back again, but there's no conspiracy here. I literally box dyed it. So anyway, you guys, we'll see you over on RUMBLE.